And this is what I have for the month of January, the continuation of the tradition of bringing greenery into the living space. This tree is a volunteer that I've kept ever since it volunteered itself. But I did prune it, otherwise it would be tall. It pokes me, so I have to keep it under control. And this is a volunteer as well. So I have got a few little mini daffodils coming up here. This is my pot project. And as promised, we will talk about the science and lore of the kitchen. Now these are my violets. And they have been doing all right, even though they got cold. But I hope to get some seeds out of them and keep them going, because I love to eat them. And this is another set of mini daffodils, and I have these here for the squirrels to prevent them from digging. Otherwise they will get into them. And I had some old fennel seed that I put out there for them. So we'll see if they take into it. But I wanted to talk to you about how everything is a blessing, even if something seemingly is a nuisance and a bother and it irks you. That includes people, especially includes people. And I learn a lot from positive things, but I also find that as humans we learn from the negative ones just as much. And as they say, if not more, so be it, if that's the case. What I'm going to do is talk to you about this story that ties into a book that I am writing. So beyond my manual that I'm working on, which is the Narc Abuse Escapee, what I have is the opening of a chapter. And it's Mrs. McGovern in the snowbank. And it's that story about how my father used to have to go put sand under her tires and help dig her out of the snowbank because she insisted on going up it the wrong way. And this white VW Bug. And I'm not sure if we owned it and we sold it to her, because somehow the one that we did own has some stories to it, including going to the American Ballet in Boston, and my mother forgetting the keys in the ignition in the car, and having somebody come and help us use a coat hanger to get inside. So we had to break into our own car after the ballet. It was a matinee. My ballet teacher, Mrs. Graney from Hollis, New Hampshire, she was a prima donna in the American Ballet. And she met her husband because he was a set designer. He was an artist of different kind. I doubt this amaryllis is going to make it, but hey, let's just put things in and decide we're going to not worry about it, and if they grow, they grow, because I missed the window. So the white VW Bug was one of the only other cars I liked besides the Dasher my mother purchased. She had a propensity of purchasing cars that were used, but just were the stupidest cars. And I liked the VW Bug, but it wasn't practical for a growing family, especially all of us in sports. It's such a small vehicle, could barely fit 4 people in it comfortably, and there was 3 of us girls. It was only comfortable up front, really, just like today's Mini S Coopers. But we sold it, and it may have been to Mrs. McGovern, but it ended up in the hands of the Fates. And I know because they would drive up and down the same road I lived on, and once I got picked up because I missed the bus by one of the Fate boys who was driving by, and I sat in the car, the VW bug, with my friend Dorinda, you could see the road because the floor had rusted away. That's the funny thing about New Hampshire, growing up with vehicles that were exposed to salt for many months. November, December, January, February, March, sometimes into April. So 5 months of snow and salt. And so that was that. But, you know, Mrs. McGovern was flirting with my dad. She would almost get stuck on purpose just so she could watch him shovel us out. And it made me remember that, because that's a fun segue into my friend Corrine and her story about her life and how she mattered to me as a person and how she took her own life in 2020. She unalived herself in isolation, which is a big reason why I protested the whole thing. I ended up going to Virginia, but I wish I hadn't. But I did. And the benefit was I got to see that man really, his lies were exposed. So people who have escaped a narcissist, this is one of the things I want to say. It doesn't make us man haters. It makes us the way we were treated by men, or a man in particular. We hate the way we were treated, and we're allowed to. We're allowed to hate the way we were treated. We're allowed to hate having him throw our clothes up into the air from our neatly put away closet and have them all over your room, all because you fell on your face and were bleeding, and the neighbor saw you and you said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Van will come back from the bar eventually, and he's got a first aid kit. I know, because he used to be a cyclist, and I know where this kid is. He'll patch me up." Where is he? Well, I walked home because he wouldn't leave the bar. So, of course, all of that is known to you now, but to him, all he saw was that a woman, a neighbor, saw his woman, me, who lived with him, saw that we were in communication. And that she found out he had abandoned me. And it made him look bad. But at the time I was confused. I'm the one that fell and hurt myself. Why was he mad? So yes, does it make me a man hater? Absolutely not. I hate the way that man treated me. And so my channel is certainly about decentering men, but it's not about hating men. And just because I say that there are awful men, people I find like to bring up the point, which is obvious, that there are awful, awful women as well. But that's not what my channel is all about. What I've discovered is that there are awful men who are attracted to good women because those good women were raised by awful mothers. And until those women realize that they shouldn't be treated awfully, they allow it. They go back to their abuser. It's called the trauma bond. Does it make us man haters to like our lives and our harmony and our peace and quiet more than we like calamity? When you're with a pathological narcissist, every day is a calamity. There's not one day that doesn't go by without something happening in it that is a calamity. Get that into your heads. That's what it's like dealing with a narcissist. Not a normal person at all. They're not normal in the least. They're abnormal. They're pathologists. They're pathologically narcissistic. So until people get that into their noggins, they won't really quite grasp how those of us who are narc abuse escapees, not only do we identify as narc abuse escapees, we are narc abuse escapees. So we're attending to our own lives. The amount of energy that we gave to this rotting relationship because the person kept killing it every chance they had, we now have for ourselves and for our own glory. It's something we value so much. We protect it. We protect our newly planted seeds of our happiness, of our joy, because we all know as narcissistic abuse escapees, we gave it our all. And if it took us that much energy and that many years to get it, and we still have energy to live, and we haven't slit our throats, we haven't enlivened ourselves, do you realize how much power we have? So why is that such a threat to even women who want to say, oh, we're man haters? Oh no, au contraire. I love myself too much to hate it, to waste my emotions on hating. It's called indifference. Indifference is the opposite of love. And it doesn't mean I don't like mankind. I love my father, I love my brother, I love my son, and I even love my children's father, who I would divorce because he wasn't paying attention to any of us. But as it turns out, he was the least of these narcissists. But I would never have learned it. I never would have known. I never would have learned my PhD in the garden variety, in the arrogant one, which was the self-righteous dry drunk, and then the last, the vulnerable but most dangerous pathological narcissist, whose, yes, mother abandoned him when he was young. All three have mommy issues, all three have backstories, and because of my own backstory, which was always trying to make good, always trying to appease, making somebody else's emotional turmoil my responsibility. They feel bad, it must be something I did. They feel bad, it must be something I must do. See? So yes, I am so 100% ecstatically happy to be a woman, repairing herself and learning about her life and going about her lovely day without a man in it. And I'm learning how to fix things myself. So there.